Everybody, welcome back to Weekend Sports, and welcome back to At the Buzzer. We're joined as always by Ryan for the first time this season. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brad.
And Jack Turner. Jack, how you doing?
Yeah, we can't complain, man. We're in a really good spot.
Yeah, should have mentally prepared myself for the two people on this. At first, I just kind of free wheeled it, so a little awkward intro, but we're gonna get past that. We're gonna, it's early season for everyone. Though hopefully the Celtics are in the whole season mode because it's been pretty great so far.
I mean, we look unstoppable. I hate to say it. I hate to be the hype guy, but like right now, I don't want to say
You're the
unstoppable
hype guy.
necessarily. Yeah, happy to be the hype guy, right? Looking at the roster construction as is, I feel really good about our spot.
Mhm.
I do think we talked about it, and I won't steal Ryan's thunder because I feel like he'll talk about it. But like at the same time, I feel like we have looked really good. We've looked nearly unbeatable, but there's still a lot of games left, a lot of time left to see how we pan out. Well, injuries hurt us, whatever it might be. But yeah, no, it's been an exciting start to season, to say the least.
Yeah, Ryan, you feeling the same way? Good start so
Yeah,
far.
I do, but I was gonna say to counter that and be like the nitpicky, miserable Northeast sports fan. I will say like if you, but on a more putting a positive spin on it, because how can you not? When you do watch them, you can see kind of hints of what could make the team so frustrating to watch last year in terms of sometimes the turnovers. Again, I actually think last game I wanted to be mad at the Celtics for it being so close with the Nets, but I just think the Nets are actually just like really annoying. And I think Jacques Vaughn's actually just might be a really good coach. I haven't fully decided, but that's what I'm thinking. But it's like you're just seeing, but that stuff is starting to happen, but we can persevere through it and ultimately just like absolutely dominate teams. And that is because of the additions of Drew Holiday and Porzingis. They really, I think, Brad Stevens clearly, um, invested a lot of, obviously, we know like time, money, assets into building this roster as it is. I really think they complement Brown and Tatum pretty perfectly from what I'm seeing so far, and Al and White. Just like a small shout out. I really like the chemistry between like Al and Drew Holiday randomly. I feel like they play really well
They
together.
click.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just been really fun to watch. I mean, again, you can kind of see traces of things you would complain about, but you can't complain about them because ultimately they're able to work through them. And right, no one's perfect. No team is perfect.
It's like a
But
skill level almost, right? Like the skill level makes up for those mistakes. That's what I've noticed too. Like last year, I
yeah,
feel like we'd hit that and we'd be like, "Okay, why didn't we fix that?" But like now it's just like, oh, Drew's there to clean it up. Oh, KP's there to clean it up. So it's cool.
yeah, it's like a big thing with Drew. I feel like has been the rebounding actually from a guard
Blocks too.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, right? Like the hustle plays. Even like you'll see like I don't know. I've noticed a couple plays where like Tatum or Brown, I would almost turn the ball over, and it's kind of chaos for a sec, and just Drew is able to get the ball like no problem.
He's everywhere. Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
and he's definitely like what I think. I'm sure his usage is way down here than it was in Milwaukee, and who's been able to just sweep in with no problem really.
Plug and play. Yeah.
And I mean Porzingis, I mean yeah, it seems like this our team is like built perfectly for him, and he's just stepped into the role like so willingly. Really feels like he's more comfortable with himself as a player. The only thing I think you could say about him, right, is like maybe the foul trouble a little bit, but like when
Hmm.
you're just a 7'3" like guy who like just like is all over, is everywhere, lob threat, is on the perimeter, you're gonna get into some foul trouble. And I really liked it. I really liked how he's conducted himself as well.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it can't really be like overstated how not different the Celtics look, but like how rejuvenated they kind of feel. Like I don't want to say we got into a rut with the lineup that we had last year and the year before, but it felt like we had kind of seen perhaps the ceiling of that lineup. So it's nice that they weren't complacent and they went out and grabbed some really key contributors. Jack, I mean, can you kind of talk a little bit more about like what, how the Celtics played differently this year versus last year? I know before we were on, you talked a little bit about the 3-pointers and like the more possessions and the points. Could you get into that at all?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting to look at. You pulled up the numbers beforehand, so we're averaging slightly less 3 pointers per game by like 0.3 or something like that, and making slightly more. So the efficiency is up. I think you can in part play that to like KP and Drew just as perimeter threats. Whereas like if you looked at last year, right, who are our starters? Marcus Smart and Al, who I love. At the same time, Al was actually solid for efficiency when it came to threes, but I think it just comes to spacing, right? Like there is such a level of spacing that we haven't been able to have before. No offense to Marcus Smart, but comparing him to Drew, right? Offensively, there is Ryan. You said this before we hopped on recording. Drew is an infinitely better player offensively than Marcus Smart. Like it's just true. Marcus could drive, and that was fine, and his threes were questionable. Like his shot selection usually was questionable, but we haven't seen that so far with Drew, right? He's been kind of a plug and play guy that can hop in, score, and play defense just like Marcus, except he can actually score. Um, Tatum, for example, also there is a definite offensive identity change, or at least it feels like one. I think we were all surprised to see those numbers the way they were at when you pulled them up. Um, I thought that we were driving a lot more, and that is definitely the case with Tatum. I think if you look at his shot selection specifically, you'll notice that he's driving to the basket. He said he put on 15 pounds of muscle, which is kind of crazy, but it shows. He's been able to drive a lot more. He's been able to get fouls, he's been able to get to the line, and just lay the ball in, which is fun to watch because that was something that I have been bitching about for the last like 3 years with him. Is like, please just start driving more. Like get to the basket. So we have that. We have KP on the perimeter, very easy to kick out. I really love you mentioned it earlier with the Drew and Al, Ryan. I'm gonna go. My favorite connection so far has been JB and KP. Actually, I've seen a couple of sick passes between them, like KP on the perimeter, just like dialing something up, like as a quick drive, bounce pass to JB in the paint, just as he'll lay it in. So fun to watch, and it's not something that I expected. It's kind of like the additional benefit of having KP, who is not like he's not a playmaker necessarily, but he has that like same court vision as like a star would. Um, so similar to as we would see Rob on the perimeter throw a couple, outlet passes. It's fun to watch KP slot in and do that, but also like have a 3-point shot, which really helps space the floor out. So I think it's really tough for any opposing team to come in and guard the starting five. And then you have Al off the bench. You've got Peyton Pritchard off the bench, who's just a pest, right? Just a complete annoying guy to come off the bench and just like start running around playing like Steph Curry off ball. Not shooting necessarily like Steph Curry. He'd like to think that, but he's fast PP. We love him for what he is. I don't know, man. It really seems like the depth has changed a little bit. We're definitely more top heavy. It's nice to see our bench guys step up like they did in the Pacers game. Let's have that happen throughout the rest of the season. I just feel like this is right now an offensive juggernaut that we're still getting used to each other for sure, right? We got Drew the day before media day. Like that's not a lot of time to get acclimated. He kind of was slotted in here pretty early or pretty late rather. So I think as the season goes on, we should only get better. The concern, of course, is injuries, but it's been so fun to watch so far. That offensive presence, it's really different when you're spacing like we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really predict injuries, so who knows, like what happens. Someone gets hurt and then the season's over. So let's not think
For
about
sure.
that in any way. Ryan, what's the ceiling? I mean, have your expectations readjusted after just these 5 games at all? Like, where were you feeling coming into the season, and how are you feeling now for the ceiling for the Celtics?
I think the biggest thing that we're all kind of riding the high on right now is that the floor is so much higher. Like that's not even. I'm not
Mhm.
even focusing on the ceiling right now. It's just
Mm-hmm.
we saw what the floor was, and it probably could have got worse to be honest. You know, we got a taste. We got to look at it, but I don't think we completely bottomed out. You never
Mhm.
do completely, even if you think you did. But I think, yeah, I think the ceiling of this team. I mean, I don't really think we've accessed it yet. Again, it's just like you look at like those 4 options. I just think of like the guarding. Like I was so surprised with like the Nets. It's just like, all right, who do you put on Tatum? I was like, given it was
Ben
out, I was like,
Simmons?
maybe,
Yeah.
I was like, probably Ben Simmons, but like also Claxton's out. Ben Simmons is the only one you could put on Porzingis, but also that's kind of a tougher matchup for, for him potentially. Um, then it's like, but then
7-3. Yeah.
what?
Did he's 7-3. He's a hard matchup for everyone. So it's
That's
like
what I'm
I
saying.
see what you're saying though.
He's just a weirder
Wh-
one. I'm not saying he's
Yeah.
a harder Matt. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and then it's just like then you just got two other guys to worry about on top of that. Just the fact that Jalen and Jason are enough, and then it's just like you just have Porzingis going there, and like Drew had like I think it was what last game. I want to say he scored around 20 points. Probably a
Mhm.
little less. I didn't look at the exact number, but and he was pretty much just scoring at will. Like whenever he wanted to, he was able to score. And even the couple threes he missed in that game, from what I remember, it was like a lot of it is something like there's more threes they miss now that it's just yeah, when you shoot a bunch of threes, some of them are gonna not go in. And you just feel better about the threes they're taking as where like last year it was like we were just taking them to take them half the time and they just they didn't look good.
Yeah,
I do see a little bit of hasty shooting.
mm,
But so in that terms, I mean, I don't think we know what the ceiling is, but um, to me, the floor is. I mean, the floor to me is like I'd be shocked if these guys are in like third or fourth place in the Eastern Conference,
mm,
and I'd
Same.
be shocked if they don't at least go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
right.
Same.
Personally, I would just say the way it's looking right now. I mean, again, you never know, but I don't see a team in the East that I think is better currently, and that's not just being a Celtics fan. That's just like I don't see it right now. I would be worried about against the Bucks. I
Same.
just think Giannis is a complete dominant force in the playoffs.
Mm,
Likes which no one on our team has proven, and you do add another guy, Dame, who is
yeah.
he has even if he has he's only been in one Western Conference Finals. But that doesn't matter. I think we all know
Yeah.
that next to Giannis in the playoffs, he can just be just as volatile on offense.
Mm,
However, their team has gotten a lot weaker temporarily because of, I think people kind of underestimated how much of a defensive identity that team has.
Yep.
mhm.
For sure. Especially in the paint.
Yeah. And we honestly, I mean, the thing is I personally feel like we've always matched up well against the Bucks.
Mm,
Right. I'd almost rather, it's like sometimes I'd almost rather play the Bucks than the Heat or the Knicks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or than the
That's
Knicks. Like the Knicks,
understandable.
like when people were like that first game, I was like, we always struggle against the Knicks. I think
Mhm.
we have
Yeah.
a
I don't know
tough
why.
time.
I agree. I want to play the
Yeah,
Heat again right now. Give
the
me
Knicks
no
are
Gabe
good.
Vincent.
Yeah, now it's different, but I mean, what was I gonna say? Yeah, and again, it's like, yeah, Dame is a new thing, but if you were to have one player to counter Dame, at least defensively, would it probably be Drew Holiday? Like if I could
It
think
would be Drew. Yeah.
there's
That's
no
what I'd
one
pick.
better, it's literally no one better in the league. It's almost like I wonder if the Portland Trailblazers GM was like, man, this is so annoying. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna trade Dame to a team he thinks he's gonna win a championship on. And then I'm gonna get the guy he's traded for, and I'm gonna trade him to a
Another
place
contender.
that just
Literally
makes
just
him
to,
that just makes Drew Holiday just look like like the best player in the NBA.
like a
And
stud. Yeah.
yeah, and just exploits Dame's like weaknesses.
Mhm.
It's kind of
Oh
crazy.
man.
So I mean, I think the ceiling's pretty thin. If you can get these guys to play multiple seasons together, I mean, Drew's older, but
Mhm.
and the contracts get messy, but it seems like they're all intent on making it work.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jack. Anything you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to?
No, I mean exciting to see. I think just to go off of what you just said too, Ryan, like I don't see us being even the 3 seed in the East right now. Like I feel like we're in a really good spot. The volatility is still there early. I'm excited to see where we finish out the season. There's still so much time left. So I think for now, it's kind of just enjoy the ride. Watch some elite Celtics basketball. We have it. It's always fun to see a team go all in like this. And I think Brad Stevens definitely did that. So that starting five is probably the best, well-rounded starting five in the league. And
I would
feel
agree.
confident saying that.
I would say we don't know it. So that's why I say the floor is the third or fourth, because we don't know what the Bucks are going to look like down the road,
Right.
right? We do.
Mhm.
I'm more worried about them in the playoffs, but I still
Same.
feel really good about it. It's the Cavs are the one, and the Cavs are the one I think people are kind of forgetting about, that I would
They're
say
sleeping on them.
people could sleep on them. I could see them, especially in the regular season. It's a whole other thing in the playoffs. I don't really, none of their star players have really any
No.
deep playoff experience at all. Well, Mitchell, but it wasn't
Yeah.
very successful. And I still think I mean, like, he's got a lot more to navigate in terms of winning in the playoffs as like a
Mhm.
primary than I think, even though, we have seen Tatum's faults, and I feel Tatum does personally.
All right. Ryan, anything you want to promote before we get on out of here?
Not currently, no.
No. All right. I know you don't have Twitter because you're, healthy, well adjusted. Unlike
One way to put it.
one of our free, well, you never gave into that at least. So
No.
that's good.
Yeah.
Jack, on the other hand, where can they follow you online?
Yeah,
On
the best place
Twitter?
to follow me is as a psychopath on Twitter or
Mhm.
X, and that's at Jack_Tiernan. So follow me there for NBA takes, MLB takes, all the stuff that happens in the offseason there. Football takes, of course. You could also follow my disc golf Instagram page, and that's at Jack Disc Golf. So follow me there.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at the fake BMAR, BMAR. Our channel is on Twitter at Wicked Good Sport. Then we have our blog, wickedgoodeverythingsports.com. This channel is Wicked Good Sports. We have a podcast channel, Better Radio, and the main channel, Wicked Good Everything. Guys, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Thanks, bro. As usual.
And we'll see you all in the next one.